Key. Have you ever had one of those days where you're just trying to mind your own business, and suddenly, someone decides they're the law, the judge, and the jury all at once? Well, that's exactly what happened to me the day Karen called the police because I parked in my own driveway. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have possibly guessed, is that the man she was yelling at was a high-ranking military officer who'd just come home from a deployment overseas. And trust me, what started as an argument on the curb ended as something no one in that neighborhood will ever forget. It was one of those golden afternoons that makes you forget how cruel the world can be. The sun was just starting to dip, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson as I turned onto Maplewood Drive. My street. My home. After 8 months stationed overseas, I was finally back. My uniform was neatly folded in the duffel on the passenger seat, and my heart felt lighter than it had in months. I couldn't wait to surprise my mom. The old oak tree in front of our house stood tall, just like it had when I was a kid, and for a moment, I let myself breathe. No shouting orders, no distant explosions. Just the sound of my tires rolling over familiar pavement. I pulled up in front of my house and smiled. There it was. My driveway, the same cracked concrete where I used to shoot hoops with my little brother, now grown and serving in another part of the world. I parked right there, blocking the end of my own driveway because my mom's car was still inside. I was just going to unload a few things before backing in properly, but I didn't even get the chance to step out before she appeared. From across the street came a sharp voice that could probably cut through steel.
Me.
You can't park there? At first, I didn't even look up. I thought she was talking to someone else. Then she yelled again, louder this time. Hey! You can't just block someone's driveway! I'm calling the police! I turned my head and saw her, mid-50s, clutching a phone like it was a weapon, her face scrunched with righteous fury. She was the type of neighbor everyone knew, the self-appointed enforcer of suburban order. I'd heard of her before I even left. The neighbors called her Karen, half in jest, half in fear. I smiled, thinking this would be quick. Ma'am, I said calmly. This is my house, my driveway. But she wasn't hearing it. Don't you lie to me! I've lived here long enough to know who owns what. The Johnsons live there. Nice family. You're not a Johnson. I almost laughed. Mom, I am a Johnson. Sergeant Major Aaron Johnson. My mom is inside. That's when she squinted, taking a few steps closer, her suspicion thick as the summer air. Oh really? You expect me to believe that? You look like you don't belong here. The words hit harder than I expected. Maybe it was the tone, maybe the implication behind them. But after months of serving my country, sleeping in sand and steel, watching brothers in arms fall beside me, hearing someone say you don't belong cut deep. I tried to stay calm. Ma'am, please, I just got home from service. I'll be inside in a minute. But she had already dialed 9911. I could hear her speaking rapidly into the phone. Yes, officer, there's a suspicious man blocking a driveway. He's refusing to leave. Yes, I feel unsafe. Something inside me cracked. I wasn't angry, not really, it was disappointment. I'd faced enemies in foreign lands, but never thought I'd have to defend myself in my own neighborhood, in front of my mother's house. Within minutes, I saw flashing. Red and blue lights paint the street. A patrol car pulled up, 2 officers stepping out cautiously. Karen stood tall, smug arms crossed like she'd just saved the community from danger. I stood there, hands at my sides, calm but firm. The officers approached. Sir, can we see some ID? One asked politely. Of course, officer, I said, handing them my military ID. Their eyes widened as they read the name and rank. One of them immediately straightened up, saluting slightly. Sergeant Major Johnson. Thank you for your service, sir. Karen's face drained of color. Her confidence crumbled like dust. But the story didn't end there. Because what happened next didn't just change her that day, it changed the whole neighborhood. The silence after the officer's salute hung heavy in the air. Karen's smug expression twisted into confusion, then fear. Her phone trembled slightly in her hand. For a few long seconds, no one spoke. Just the distant hum of cicadas and the echo of the patrol car's radio. "Wet, you're military," she finally muttered, her voice shaky now, almost unsure. "Yes, Mom," I replied, my tone calm but steady. "I've been overseas for the last 8 months. This," I gestured to the house behind me, "is my home. My mother's inside." The officer nodded, confirming, "He's telling the truth, Mom. Records check out. He's Sergeant Major Aaron Johnson, U.S. Army." I could see the realization dawn on her face. Her confidence evaporated, replaced by embarrassment, and maybe, beneath that, guilt. She looked around as if hoping the street might swallow her whole. A few neighbors had peeked through their blinds, watching everything unfold. I could feel their eyes on us, the way people look at a car crash. Shocked, fascinated, and a little ashamed to be witnessing it. Karen took a hesitant step forward. I didn't know," she stammered. "I thought you were. Well, I didn't recognize you and..." I held up a hand. "You thought I didn't belong." She froze. There was no anger in my voice, just quiet disappointment. That, I think, hit her harder than yelling ever could have. The officer cleared his throat, gave me a small nod of respect, then turned to her. "Mom, maybe next time, just ask before calling 911. He gave me a knowing glance. "Welcome home, Sergeant." When they left, Karen stood there awkwardly, the weight of her mistake hanging in the air. I could have walked away. I could have turned my back and left her standing there, embarrassed and small. But something in me, maybe all those years of leadership, maybe just humanity, told me this was a moment to teach, not punish. "Come here," I said gently. She hesitated, then slowly walked toward me. "I really didn't mean to." "I know," I interrupted softly. "But sometimes, meaning well isn't enough. You looked at me, and before I said a word, you decided I didn't belong. You called the police, and if things had gone differently, well, we both know how bad it could have gotten." She looked down, eyes glistening. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I've just been scared, I guess. There's been news, strangers, and I thought I was doing the right thing." "I get it," I said. "Fear makes us forget to think. But maybe next time, try understanding before judging." At that moment, the front door opened. My mother stepped out, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. "Aaron," she cried, running into my arms. The weight of the past months lifted as she hugged me tight. For a few seconds, the world felt right again. Karen stood there awkwardly, tears beginning to fall. "Mrs. Johnson, I am so sorry," she said, her voice trembling. My mom looked at her with that gentle kindness only mothers seem to have. "We all make mistakes, Karen. What matters is what we do after." Karen nodded, wiping her face. "If there's anything I can do." I smiled faintly. "You can start by joining us for dinner. Mom's famous pot roast isn't something you want to miss." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You want me to come over?" "After all this?" "Yeah," I said. "We've all got things to learn. Maybe tonight's lesson is about grace." She hesitated for a long moment, then slowly nodded. That night, around my mother's old wooden table, something changed. Karen listened as my mom talked about what it's like to have a son in the military. The fear, the waiting, the prayers whispered in the dark. I shared stories, not of war, but of unity, of soldiers who didn't look alike, but trusted each other with their lives. Karen cried quietly at one point. "I didn't know," she said. "I've lived here for years, and I never really knew the people around me." "That's the problem," I told her gently. "We stop seeing each other as people. We start seeing threats, strangers, labels. But at the end of the day, we're all just trying to get home safe." From that night on, something remarkable happened. Karen changed. She started helping my mom with groceries. She waved to neighbors she'd ignored before. And slowly, People began to see her differently too, not as the nosy neighbor, but as someone trying to make amends. As for me, I found something I hadn't expected to find after deployment: hope. Hope that even in a world full of misunderstandings, hearts could still change. Weeks later, I saw Karen standing by that same oak tree, talking with kids from the block. Laughing, she waved when she saw me.
Hey, Sergeant?
Still blocking your own driveway? I grinned. Only if it gets me free pot roast. We both laughed. That's when I realized something powerful. Sometimes, the battles that matter most aren't fought overseas. They're fought right here, in our neighborhoods, in our hearts. And when you fight those battles with empathy instead of anger, you don't just win a moment. You change a life.